Welcome to the Kids with Big Emotions podcast, formerly known as Calm Nights, Strong Days. I am your host, Andy Clark. Today, I'm super excited to dive into this episode, the first steps to helping your child. This came from the last episode I was recording. I said something in it and I was like, ooh, I need to do a podcast episode on that. So here we are, and we are going to dive in because this is a step that is often missed. This is a step that is often pushed to the side and left to the last when helping your child, when in fact it should be at the forefront. The magnitude of the impact that this step can have for the growth and when helping your child, as well as your relationship with your child, is astronomical and definitely often neglected. So it's one that we really need to happen or to happen, to talk about today and get you thinking about it. And that's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think about this. You may be ready to start taking action. You may already be implementing this step. But if you're not, I'd like you to really start thinking about it and thinking about what I'm saying. If there's anything in what I'm saying that's triggering you and you're like, yeah, no, not me, not happening, that's often when we actually should take that step and start thinking, why is this triggering me? Why am I so resistant to this? Quite often, that is a part in you that is protecting you from something, from diving into it. So I'd really like you to listen to this one with an open mind, and let's dive in. So why supporting yourself? So supporting yourself is actually the key to supporting your child. I'm going to go through a whole list of reasons as to why that I have seen in my 30 years of working in the health and wellness industry, of my own experiences, of my experiences of working with clients, all of the stuff that I see. And hopefully it really helps you see it through my lens as well. So the first thing is role modeling. Our children learn by observing, right? You think of this. Kids watch other kids model what they do and they'll do it. Sometimes if they see a child doing something that they didn't think they were old enough to do, but that child is their age, they may try it, right? When they see certain behaviors, they model them. Kids are born with a clean slate. They don't know night from day. They don't know right from wrong. They don't know any of these things. It's all things that they're taught through role modeling. And if you are able to model healthy behaviors like self-care, like managing your emotions, like diving into struggles that you're having or ways that you express yourself, your communication, your child's going to see that. They're going to see the change in that. And they're really going to see that it's okay for them to do, even if it's a hard thing for you to do. When it comes to emotional regulation, when you are calm and balanced, it's so much easier for you to manage your child's big emotions without getting overwhelmed yourself. Like, still to this day, there are times where sometimes it's due to my hormonal cycle, sometimes it's due to things I've eaten, a bad sleep, whatever, all kinds of stressors. Sometimes my stress system is a little more taxed and I'm shorter with my kids. And I see the difference now that most of the time I'm calm and balanced. Most of the time, like my reaction when my kids and my husband say or do something, when I am calm and balanced and relaxed and like really in a good place, is so different to how I react when I'm struggling to manage my own crap. And I'll even say, like last week, I knew it. I ate gluten, I had some dairy, I had some sugar, which are all things that my body, this is not for everybody. I have one kid that is sensitive to this and one kid that isn't. This isn't across the board for everybody. These are my triggers. I had those, and in the evening, I did not handle my son well. So when we're thinking about role modeling or thinking about emotional regulation, so I am usually more regulated. I can usually regulate my kids. When I am not regulated, because I have worked on a lot of myself and my own stuff, I can actually stop. And I did that night. And I went to my son and I said, look, I know you're struggling because you also had gluten. We had some different things. It was a great day. We really enjoyed our day. But right now, our stress systems are struggling from this. I'm struggling to stay calm around you, and you're struggling to stay calm. So I'm not a good influence on you right now. I need to go and do some of my breathing and do some of my stuff, pull out some of my tools so that I can be more regulated for you and I can come back and help you through this. And that's what I did. So when you're calm and balanced and you've done that work on yourself, that you can actually talk to your child about how I'm off right now, they start seeing that role modeling. And then we start thinking about the resilience in you. When you start looking, taking care of what you need to take care of for yourself and your own body, stress wise, trauma wise, all of these things, you build up this resilience when you start working on better communication skills. If, like, quite often in families, as families are evolving, communication styles are improving. There's a lot on the internet now. There's a lot of courses, there's a lot of books on better communication styles. And that wasn't around when we were growing up. And that is if you're the same age as me. And so our parents may not have had the best communication styles, which is what we would have learned because those were our role models. So as you learn to build these up, as you learn better communication styles, as you learn to manage your own stressors, as you learn what your stressors are, how you react to stressors, then you're better able to handle your child. You're better able to handle their ups and downs. You become more emotionally regulated. Your resilience really builds up, and your tolerance to stressors, that their big emotions don't hit you as hard as they used to. And it also gives you this mental clarity. So when you take that time for yourself, you get the mental space you need to respond more thoughtfully rather than reacting. I know when my stress system is taxed, I react. When my stress system is not taxed, I'm able to stop for a moment, consider, okay, what's going on with my child? Why are they in the state that they are? Why are they reacting the way that they are? I'm in my dolphin brain. I'm not in my shark brain. So I'm not reactive. I am very open to seeing what's going on around them. And it really makes such a difference as to how I react, what tools I bring out, how I'm able to be compassionate, empathetic to them, and really calm them and bring them down a lot quicker. So the emotions become less and less the more that you become regulated, the more that you have that mental clarity and that resilience in your stress system, and the more that you're able to be a better role model for them. Which, let's dive into burnout. Now, when we have kids with big emotions, it's exhausting. And if we don't, for people that don't even have a child with big emotions, you don't have a neurodiverse child with different needs. And life is already tough, right? We already have so many more stressors than were around when we were younger, when we were growing up. Just devices alone, the stressors, what they do to our brains, they're so helpful, like, yin and yang to things. Devices, like, I wouldn't be able to be here and have this podcast without all of the technology and everything we have out there today. It's amazing. But we also have people that work in companies that hire psychologists to come in order to be able to suck you in so that you want to be liking things more and commenting more, or sucked into more videos, or sucked into certain platforms and video games, and all of these things can really suck you in. And like, just that alone the pressures. There's so many pressures. And being on social, people see your lives more, or we're comparing our lives more to others. And there's just so many other stressors out there without having a neurodiverse child, without having a child with big emotions, that we're constantly feeling like we need to be in our shark brain, always watching around in case our child like is going to have a panic attack, anxiety attack, in case they're going to hit somebody or yell or, you know, just explode. We, it adds up. It really, really adds up. And I mean, there are moms, multiple moms that have joined my Facebook group that have said they're burnt out. They're totally burnt out. And I've been there. My gosh, the reason I started to become a sleep and stress coach was because I was burnt out. For years, I was in the health and fitness industry and working out and eating healthy, and none of that helped until I really understood how to get myself out of burnout. And I was in burnout when I was pregnant with, I think, both my kids, but it really hit my second one because I was in a deeper burnout. They were 19 months apart. You do the math on the stress on my body from that. I was almost 40 when I had my second one. Just like he was born with all kinds of stress signs because I didn't have the supports for him. So many of us too, many of us moms may have even been in burnout or close to burnout while we were pregnant with our kids, and then our kids stress systems are more taxed. And when our energy levels are so exhausted, our physical and emotional health like takes a dive. And it is hard to have patience and support when you're in burnout. It is hard to do the basics in your day when you have burnout, let alone start learning tools to implement to help your child, let alone have emotional regulation yourself, the mental clarity, the resilience in your stress system, and be that role model when you're burnt out. It's hard. I've been there. Oh my God. Like you just can't. You can't. And I look back to those times when I was in burnout and just think, wow, how did I get anything done in my day? But you push through. It's what we do. We ignore it, we push it to the side. But I am telling you right now that if you take the time and go slow at a pace that your burnout allows, slow at a pace where your energy allows to get yourself out, oh my gosh, the role model you're setting for your child, the emotional regulation you'll have, the mental clarity, the resilience you'll have with them when you can get yourself out of burnout is unbelievable. And the strides you can make with your child to help them is unbelievable. And it just changes everything. It changes your relationship with your partner and your spouse. It changes your relationship in your career. It changes all of your relationships and things in life when you can get yourself out of burnout from working on yourself. Which leads us into the next one of breaking the cycle. I remember last summer having a chat with my neighbor where she's a therapist, she's a psychotherapist, art therapist, works with kids. And she's been working a lot on her stuff as a child. I've been working on mine. My other neighbor's been working on it. I have so many friends and colleagues in my like entrepreneur groups, and just where we are working on our our childhood, on breaking cycles of patterns that were passed down to us. This was not a thing for our parents. So patterns that were passed on to them. Now there's so many different, we have generational patterns, we have cultural patterns, we have um, all kinds of patterns. I mean, we think of like just all these things that happened in so many different cultures, in so many different histories. Then we have the roles of males and females, right? And in certain cultures, those roles are different from other cultures. And those cycles all got passed down, right? And we dealt with a lot of these things that affected us as far as having certain beliefs in ourselves, what we can do, what we can't do, what we're worthy of, that you're good enough for certain things, or I should or shouldn't do these things, or I should stay quiet. Or you have maybe as well cycles of communication where you may have one parent that drinks, or you may have a parent that yells a lot, or they get, those big emotions. Their shark brain came out a lot. So your shark brain comes out a lot. They may turtle a lot. You may turtle a lot. There's a lot of studies going too that say that if you are the child of somebody who was depressed, that um, the increase of anxiety in you is huge. So what we can do is we can go and start breaking these cycles too, breaking those traumas. Um, I remember being in a coaching program years ago where the coach said everybody has childhood traumas. I'm like, no, not me. No way. My childhood was a normal childhood. And I learned it was normal because it was all I knew. But the more that I learned about it, the more I started diving into my own stuff, my own things that were blocking me in thinking I was smart enough, thinking I was good enough, which I'm learning now. I'm neurodiverse. I dive so deep into subjects and topics and learn profoundly so much information about them. Um, I am crazy smart, but the way that I learn sometimes is different. And then sometimes I want to like dive deep into that topic and talk to everybody about that topic, but not everybody wants to hear about that topic. So growing up, my family was never interested in a lot of the same stuff that I was. And so a lot of my interests and beliefs and stuff were put down. When I thought big outside of the box, it was put down. My parents live in more of a box, which they're comfortable with, which is what helped them manage their traumas and help them survive through their life, through their generational traumas and all of these things. So that then affected me in believing I was smart enough, believing I was good enough to do this. Um, like it's amazing. I was working with first responders and having them say that their suicidal thoughts were gone once I got their sleep back on track, their hormones, their gut, their stress system back up where they can be resilient and handle so much more stressors in their life at home, at work. And their body was recovering, that their suicidal thoughts, we did nothing mental, nothing on the traumas, and their suicidal thoughts went away. And I was like, still thinking I wasn't good enough or smart enough to do what I did. Like, it's just fascinating how so many of the beliefs that we have that are stopping us from doing things today in our everyday life come from things that happened in our childhood. And this does not at all mean we have bad parents. I know I'm going to make mistakes. I already do see some of the mistakes I've made with my kids. It's because of my traumas, um, and the way I've handled things. But now that I've worked through them, I'm like, oh wow, you know, these are things my kids now need to break those cycles and break those things in them. And so one of my kids goes to therapy because I've told him I am going to make mistakes. So is your dad. We're going to do the best that we can, which we are. We're trying our best each and every day. But, as we all evolve, new research, new things come out, that we are going to make mistakes, right? And so he has a therapist to help him manage things when there are things that his dad and I do that bother him, or manage things as he's going through life that he notices. And he's doing that at such a young age. He's 12 now. He's been going since he was 11 and he loves it. And that's the thing where I'm setting that example because I'm going, their dad now has a therapist and he is loving it. He worked hard. So this is a thing if you are going to get a therapist, interview people. Don't just go based on what so-and-so said to go to. I know that I can work with you. I'm not a therapist. It's interesting. I've done the IFS coaching training. I've done the same training that therapists go through, but because I'm not a therapist by trade, I go by a IFS informed coach and they go by an IFS therapist. Same training. It's fascinating. So, yeah, I just like I can work on all of the stress, emotional regulation stuff with you. I can work at getting you out of burnout. I can work on some of these traumas that you've had and all of these things. At the same time, like you may find somebody else that you find is a better fit, or you may have insurance that covers therapy, so you want to go to a therapist. Like make sure that you I would truthfully go to the IFS website and search for your state or your province, because certain therapists can only work in a state or a province, and go through all of them and see your top 3 of who you'd resonate with. So IFS is, I'll actually add that. Let me IFS website. I'll add that with the find a therapist. I'll add that there. You can find a therapist there. So I would interview at least 3 of them. And if you start going to someone and you're like, this isn't really fit for me, go to somebody else, right? Also, what you will find with therapists, and this is Tara Sumner, who I learned executive functioning from. She has Seeds of Learning, which is her SLP. They work with kids with speech and language struggles and executive functioning struggles. And she said that after a while of working with a client, you lose objectivity. You know where that client was when you started with them, and you know where they've gotten to, that you're thinking, wow, this person has come so far. What more do they need to work on? And you lose that objectivity of things that they actually could be working on, and that after they've worked with a client, with a kiddo for a while, they actually switch to work with another therapist in her clinic. And they tell the kid, wow, you have done so well that you've graduated way past my knowledge. Like, I don't know if I can help you anymore, that I'm going to start introducing you to this other amazing person that can help you with some more things to help you get even further. Right. And so this is something to think of for ourselves as well when we're trying to break these cycles, is really diving into therapy. I love IFS because it's really good for helping to like full on break the cycles without having to do tons of talk therapy, and talking through the struggles all the time. You're actually working. Go to my episode 44. I'll put that in. Episode 44 to I think 49 or 52. 52 is IFS. So I will put that in as well. If you go into that, it will break down what IFS is. Adding that in show notes. So we'll add all that into the show notes for you. Go into it, check about what IFS therapy is, and then if it does resonate with you, you can find a therapist. You can work with me, and with me, I do all of the stress stuff as well. The resilience, I understand the executive functioning, and then we can also add your kid stuff in there too. That I can help you like with working with your child through all of that as well. But in order to prevent your burnout, get your energy levels up, have that like emotional regulation, resilience, mental clarity, and be that role model for your kid, it is really, really important to break your cycles, break your past cycles of trauma, and improve your communication. As I was saying earlier, there's so much out there for communication. Like my husband and I, it is amazing how our communication has improved so much from being married, like been together, I think 15 years. Don't quote me on this. Um, but like the way that we have learned to communicate better is just astronomical. And it has really helped. Like, it's so funny because I'll say things, and my kids, I now see they use some of those tools and stuff with their friends. And it's fascinating. So, learning how to communicate in ways that your child understands it, but also when you're in tune with your own needs and your own feelings, you just start communicating more effectively, more empathetically with your child. You just do. It starts to happen the more that you work on yourself. And I'm seeing it like as my husband is working more with his new therapist, his communication is changing as he's working through stuff. And it's fascinating. So fascinating. And our kids are going to see that. And I'm super proud of my husband for taking that leap, and doing it and setting that role model for our boys. I'm just so excited. And the self-compassion, like learning to be compassionate with yourself, really makes it easier to extend compassion to your child, especially during their most challenging moments. So this is a big thing too, is if you do IFS and you start learning about the parts and the parts therapy, or even just going through my episodes of all on IFS, 44 and up, start going through those, you start seeing that your kids' reactions are parts protecting them. And you start becoming way more compassionate and understanding to them. You understand a lot more of what they're going through as well. When you're starting to work through your stuff, when you're starting to build stress tools, like it sounds so easy. Oh, you need to breathe every day. And you don't have to do it every day. I'm just saying that. Like somebody will say, like if you just start Googling, what are the things you need to do, right? So my top is breathing. Making sure you're hydrated is huge. and food. You try doing those on a regular basis, it's not easy. These are habits we have to learn, we have to build into our world, and there's times where we're going to fall off. And then we come back on. And so then when our child isn't doing it every day, when our child is falling off sometimes, we're way more compassionate to them when we've actually been trying a lot of the things that we're trying to do with our kids as well. And it really strengthens the child bond. It strengthens that bond so much when you're prioritizing your self-care and it gets that bond with your child, you're more present with them, you're able to connect with them on a deeper level. When you don't have the energy, the bandwidth, the brain power, or anything to connect with your child, you can't. Like you can't. You're such a different person than when you do. And I am going to make an assumption. This is a big, broad assumption that those of you listening are feeling some of that burnout. You're feeling some of this exhaustion. You're feeling there's days where you can't keep calm. You can't keep out of your shark brain. You keep kicking into your shark brain or shutting down into your turtle brain and just being like, I'm done. I don't know what to do here. I'm finished with this, right? The thing is that the more that you work on yourself, the more that you are able to express that to your child, right? There's a great book. Oh, it's Robin Gobble's book. I'm going to put that here. This book, she deals with trauma. So she uses animals as well. That's who I actually learned about the animals from. She has 3 animals only, and she deals with deep traumas. It's more like the example in this book is a mom who has adopted a child and all of the stuff that goes with that. The thing is what she's doing in this book is actually talking through different sessions with this client, with this parent, and she's actually teaching the parent skills to be more kind and caring, compassionate to themselves in order to also help their child. It's such a fascinating book. It's new. I would highly, highly, highly recommend it to help you understand as well and see your child from a different point of view. It's super helpful. Just even starting with that. If you are not ready to work on yourself, just read that book. Absolutely read that book. Read my podcast episodes 44 to 52 on IFS to even start getting another lens, because I use my son as a lot of examples in there on things that have really changed in us since I started thinking about them as protectors and parts when his emotions are coming up. And how can I help them? Right? So I really hope this was helpful for you. Know that you matter. And you feeling whole, you feeling in you is going to be everything that your child needs. It's going to make such a huge impact on your child's ability to work through their stuff as well. They may have a lot of executive functioning struggles. You're going to see them through a whole different light once you start working on yourself and being able to help them gain those skills. When I do one-on-ones with, I have on my website that I do one-on-ones with the parents of younger kids. Middle and high school, I would do just with the kids. I love the sessions with the parents too, because I'm not only working on, okay, this is solely focused on the child. How are we going to help you with what you can do to help your child with the next steps right now? We're also bringing into helping that parent. So through the end of me helping one-on-one with those parents, the parents come out of it so much stronger. They come out of it, out of burnout, regulating emotionally. They have that emotional regulation skills. They have the resilience. They have the mental clarity. They are role models for their kids, as well as having the tools and skills to be able to help their kids then in what specifically their kids need. So what you as a parent may need, will be different than what a child needs. You're at different stages of life, different emotional, mental maturities, probably different executive functioning struggles, different stressors, different ways your body holds on to stressors, all of these things. So they do need to be looked at individually. It's not a one size fits all solution. But I love seeing that when I'm working with the parent and the child, and I'm seeing those changes in both. Oh, it just makes my heart melt. Like, that's why I do this. That's what I love about this. And that's my hope with my membership, my new membership site, is where I can start giving the parents the tools to support themselves and to support their kids. And I'm going to, a lot of the stuff that I do in my one on ones, I'm going to start creating courses and teaching. The difference between the membership site and the one on ones is the one on ones, I'm really dialing in on what does that individual need. There's the accountability each week. We really can dive in each week on what worked, what didn't work, where are you at, what things popped out that you need to work on. Whereas in the membership site, I'm taking all of those things, creating lessons. You can go through and figure out what you need on each day, coming to coaching calls on that and doing Q&As on coaching calls. You can ask me all your questions. Just won't be like as regular on a weekly basis. I won't know you as intimately, although I'm going to try to know everybody in that group as best as I can. Community is really important to me. I've made the membership price very, very doable, um, so that it can work for any parent long term. This is a long term thing with your kids. I do not want to make you think that this is something that we quickly change in these kids that's overnight. Um, it's a process, a lot to learn, a lot to implement. You're going to try things and come back and say, hey, this didn't work. This is the reaction that we got. And we'll talk about what you did, if there's any steps that were missed and things we can adjust. A plan never works. It never looks the same at the end as when we started. So I'm not even telling you exactly what to do with your kid. I'm going to give you frameworks and say, these are the things. Now think about your child. Think about how they react. What are their likes? What are their personalities? What are their dislikes? What are their stressors? And how can you adapt this framework to work for your child? And you're going to try it. And then you can come back and say, hey, this part worked. This part didn't work. This is what I did. Where can we make adjustments? And we can do that on coaching calls and stuff. That's what I do in my one-on-ones. So if you get into this group at the start, you really are going to get me one-on-one. I'm going to open it up once we have 10 people on the wait list. And we'll get it started. And I'm going to start bringing lessons in there, teaching you things that um, you're asking me about. Oh, well, create a lesson for that. Anything in here today, like, how do you get more emotional regulation? What do you start doing to start getting out of burnout? Like, what are all the steps? I can start adding that in. Shoot, I had this like crazy course for first responders, and I'm start bringing in those lessons, but make them for parents and kids, and how you can work those out based on what you're asking in the group and how I can best help you. All right. Any questions, let me know. All of my links are in the show notes. The link to join my membership site is in the show notes to get on that wait list. We have our free Facebook group as well if you want to start there. Let me know. Book a call with me if you have any questions. That link is also in the show notes. However I can help you, I am here. I really don't want parents to have to go through what I went through for as long as I did. If I can help you decrease the mistakes I made and get to that end goal faster, oh, I'm so there. And that's why I do this. All right, I will see you in the next episode.